What a difference 2 years can make, man. Because just 2 years ago, 2022-2023 season, Dolphins fans were all in on Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel arrives in town. He has Tyreek Hill. He beats the Ravens. He goes on to beat the Bills. We're winning. We're going to the playoffs. Most importantly, we're probably going to win a playoff game, so we're going all in. Trade deadline, Chris Greer is going all in, and we get Bradley Chubb. We're excited. We're finally getting players at the deadline to contend. And just 2 seasons after that, we're 2-7 at the trade deadline, begging for Bradley Chubb to be traded and begging for other players to be traded, begging the team to fully retool and reset at this trade deadline. Just 2 seasons after going all in, just 2 seasons after having the highest hopes in 25 years. It's insane how much of a difference these 2 seasons can make. And not only in the first 2 seasons ago that we weren't able to contend with going all in, now at the deadline here, we are not retooling when we want to retool. Because the Dolphins and the GM, or whether it's the GM or it's Stephen Ross who's controlling the GM as of right now, because he's an interim GM, Champ Kelly, whether it's Stephen Ross controlling him, the whole front office just fell asleep during the trade deadline. Since they traded Jalen Phillips, they said, "Oh, that's enough. We don't need to trade any more players. We're good. We don't need to. We're good at where we're at. We're just gonna ask for a very, very high asking price, and if they don't want to give it to us, we're gonna be stubborn and not trade them." I mean, the Dolphins trade Jalen Phillips to the Eagles, third-round pick. All right. They take on a majority of salary to get that third-round pick. That's probably going to be around a late third-round pick because it's the Eagles. They're good. It's their third-round pick. All right. That's one move. Defense end that's highly valuable in the league right now. And, a lot of contenders need them, like the Niners, like the Cowboys. The Cowboys also went out and got a defensive lineman. So we have another one in Bradley Chubb. All right. Bradley Chubb. He's owed a lot of money after the season because we restructured his contract. Again, that goes back to going all in the Chris Greer era. What a difference 2 years can make. And we just don't trade him. And we tag him with a high asking price is what's reported. I mean, I understand not trading Jalen Waddle. I understand not trading Devon A-Chain. Of course, those are two offensive weapons that are amazing. Young dudes. Now, Bradley Chubb, he's only 30 years old also. But he's coming off injuries. A lot of teams need defensive linemen, and eventually we're going to have to trade some of these players to get draft picks, to get draft capital to rebuild. Because in the unfortunate circumstances that the Miami Dolphins organization, the Miami Dolphins team is in, we're in rebuild mode. We're in retool mode. We're in start over mode. All right? And when do we start the start over mode? Because it didn't start at this trade deadline where it should have. Where we could have had a jump on getting these 2026 draft picks while contending teams are contending. Because during the offseason, there's a whole pool of free agents. A whole pool of free agents that these contending teams or teams that think they're contending can go and sign. It's not as high of a value. Bradley Chubb's not as high of a value during the offseason. Minkah Fitzpatrick isn't as high of a value to trade for during the offseason because there's other safeties, there's other defensive linemen out there that they can just go sign without giving up any assets, without giving up any picks. And I don't think Champ Kelly or Stephen Ross, who's probably approving these trades, understands that. And this makes absolutely no sense as we sit at the current moment, 2-5. No hope left in the season. We have the Bills, the Commanders. It's just a whole bunch of shit show. We're thinking about benching Tua. This whole season's completely over. It's a soft tank. It's not a soft tank. It's a completely idiotic malpractice by the front office. Why not start the reset now? Start it as early as possible. Now, you could say, okay, we're giving the new GM. It should not be Champ Kelly, because if he wanted to make an impression by trading these players and trading them for decent picks and getting decent deals, he didn't impress nobody at the deadline. So I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Champ Kelly. I don't want it to be Champ Kelly, because he's still lingering in there, connected with Chris Greer. Everybody in the organization is still connected to Chris Greer, that little mole rat bastard. I don't want no connections to him. I don't even want Stephen Ross's connection to him, but we had to deal with him because he's the billion-dollar owner. Now, what was I saying? Now, you could say the GM, whoever they hire, come in Okay, let him assess the situation. Maybe that's a smart move. Maybe that's a smart move. But you can still get great value at right now. Why not take the great value for Bradley Chubb at least? The guy that's owed a lot of money. Why not take the great value for Minka Fitzpatrick, who's going to want a contract extension coming up, I'm pretty sure. Or the great value on the other players that we could trade. I don't know if there's any other valuable players besides Minka and Bradley Chubb that they want, besides Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane, but those guys, I wouldn't trade those guys either. Jalen Waddle, honestly, I was considering why not just trade Jalen Waddle? You know, it's that contract is kind of, but I think he's proven himself that he could be a wide receiver one when Tyreek Hill is out. And whether we get rid of Tyreek Hill this offseason or cut him, do whatever with him, Jalen Waddle, I'm confident could be a wide receiver one on this team. And I think it's good that we didn't trade him. Unless the value was really high like we did. I like the approach the Miami Dolphins came with Jalen Waddle and the teams wanting Jalen Waddle, like the Broncos. Ask for a high price. If you can get a first and a second or a first and a third or whatever it could possibly be, a first and something else for him, then take it. But if not, then don't take it. Because can you really replace him with that first? Nah, he's a wide receiver one. You see he's a wide receiver one. He's only about 27. And Devon Achane, of course, you don't trade him. You don't trade him unless you're getting that top 15 pick. But I hate the way the Miami Dolphins approach this trade deadline. Because he gave us nothing to talk about besides what happened, on Monday? Jalen Phillips getting traded? Who cares? He sucks. He's the leads the league in almost sacks. Guy can't sack a cone. He's lingering injury, dude. The Eagles took him. Now, I'm pretty sure, if you're asking for a high price on Bradley Chubb, and, the NFL contracts and the contracts in every sport are completely weird. No one understands them. I don't understand them. But I know Bradley Chubb's owed a lot of money in the next 2 years. Just the way we restructured that deal, the way he got paid a massive extension, then we restructured it to the back end of the years. So, I don't see why the asking price would be so high for the Miami Dolphins to get rid of Bradley Chubb. Wouldn't you rather get off of that contract before the offseason, before next season? Get it while it's high now, while teams they're going to value it more, like the Niners, who are still trying to contend, who are still trying to win a game in the wild card or two, who are still trying to make the playoff push, and they need defensive line. I don't understand it. Why don't you take the deal the Cowboys are? The Cowboys over here spending draft capital like it's nothing. Why not take the deal for Minka Fitzpatrick? Straight snooze. It was like Pat Riley at the trade deadline. Straight snooze and you lose at the trade deadline of the Dolphins. Terrible. And just an unnewsworthy trade deadline. Now we just have nothing to talk about, nothing to look forward to in the offseason now. When you trade Bradley Chubb, you go, oh, we got a lot of picks coming up in this draft. Maybe we could do something with these third rounders, these fourth rounders. We have a lot of fourth rounders, And now it's just on to the Bills, on to get our asses kicked, on to see if Tua gets benched, on to see if we can see what Quinn Ewers can do, on to see us just get our ass kicked and hope Mike McDaniel gets fired at this point. Just terrible. Chris Greer passed the baton to Champ Kelly, and he's not making a great first impression. Miami Dolphins trade deadline is an absolute non-existent, newsworthy trade deadline. When it was a newsworthy trade deadline by the Cowboys and a newsworthy trade deadline by the Colts, the Miami Dolphins, while looking like they're headed towards a rebuild, didn't approach the trade deadline like they were headed towards a rebuild. Other than that, I'll see you probably after the Bills game because, what else is there to talk about? Tua getting benched, Quinn Ewers possibly starting. We know that's not going to happen yet. So I'll probably see you after the Bills game. Other than that, we're focused on the Miami Heat, Nuggets tomorrow. We're focused on everything else. MLB free agency starts. And everything else after that. Miami Dolphins terrible trade deadline. That's all I got to say.